Hello everybody, today I'm duping a high-end palette. This is the Natasha Denona Peak palette. This came exclusive to BoxyCharm in the month of November for base members, and I don't think you can get it anywhere else unless you're a BoxyCharm subscriber. So if you are not a BoxyCharm subscriber but this palette interests you, I've got some dupes, darn near matches for the originals that she took these shades from. If you're on a budget or if being fiscally responsible, especially this time of year, then stay tuned. A couple days ago, I unboxed the Natasha Denona Peak palette from BoxyCharm. It's an exclusive 5-pan to BoxyCharm. Normal, regular MSRP on it is $48, but it came in a boxy, and then I noticed it was in the add-ons too. So exclusive to BoxyCharm. However, when I was reading the information about the palette, it said that this was taken from 3 of her popular kind of older palettes. And the palettes that she said that these colors were taken from, so I'm trying not to get the glare on it here. Let me open it up. Palettes that they said that this came from was the Biba palette, the Safari palette, and the Sunrise palette. There are 5 shades from those palettes. I don't have the originals, but I have some dupes. 2 Alter Ego palettes and 1 CColor Cosmetics palette. CColor Cosmetics palette's called Savannah. This is supposedly a dupe for the Safari palette, and it looks like that. And as you can tell, I haven't even used it yet. And this is an all matte warm palette, and it's beautiful. I don't know why I haven't used it. It looks to me like we may have this shade here as a dupe. We may have that orange, but I'm not entirely sure. We don't have any frosts in here, and we don't have kind of a light coral, and the browns are too dark. So those are kind of the 2 shades. I think these first 2 may come from the Safari palette, which again, I have the CColor Cosmetics Savannah palette for. Then I also have the Alter Ego Sahara palette, which is supposed to be a dupe for the Biba palette, and it looks like that. Pretty neutral. Pretty plain Jane neutral. So if I look at this on this palette, I'm gonna say the brown actually right there in the middle looks like it might be a match. That Mirage color right there, that looks like it might be a match. And then maybe this shimmer down here. So that's the other 3. What's going on with the Sunrise palette? This is the Alter Ego Aurora palette. It's supposed to be a dupe for Sunrise. And if I look at this, you've got all these wonderful warm colors in here. So I've got Flare right there, maybe, and then Stella right there. Although I'm not convinced that that's a good dupe. So we're gonna have to play with these. I could do a dupe video where I take the original and let's put up the colors and the formula to the dupes and see if we've got a match. I'm gonna use the same brush. I've got a color switch. I've got a washcloth. We're gonna clean off the brush in between. Let's just see if these dupes perform as good as the original Natasha Denona palette. Of course, you know, I can't leave well enough alone, and I wanna actually try all the colors. So I think I'm gonna do the original on my wedding ring side, and then I'll do the dupe on my not so good side. this side over here that I don't really care for that much. So I'm gonna start with this kind of bone shade in here. It doesn't have a name in this palette, or if it does, oh, it's on the back. So we're gonna take Aya. So I'm just gonna take that up above here. It's almost the same shade as my skin, but maybe just a touch warmer. Brighten a little bit some of the darker areas here. Sort of setting down my eyelid primer. Today I used a Zoeva primer. Okay, interestingly enough, the shades that are in here, even though they look similar, when I actually swatch them, and you're not gonna be able to tell on this, but the Natasha Denona actually swatched a little bit more pink. And the other ones swatched a little bit more of kind of like a chalky white color. So I'm just gonna go by this one being a little bit more pink in the pan. The goal is to try to get a similar look on both eyes. Okay, on my lid it seems a little brighter, but not horrible. I actually might prefer that shade. We're moving on to the next shade in here, which is this one, which is called Jasper. So that one's called Jasper. And it looks to me like it's gonna be maybe a dupe for the Sahara palette called Savannah, which is that one right there. I'm gonna swatch these really fast and just kind of see. This is like one of those games where you're trying to figure out like the matching stuff. Actually, I think this shade right here, Jasper, is actually seems to be swatching more like this no-name shade right in here. So I'm gonna try to use those as my match. We've got the Natasha Denona on this side, right? And already I can tell you that was way more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. Clean brush to kind of buff it out a little bit. Despite it going on very bold, it actually did buff out. So I'm cleaning my brush off, switching it, going into the CColor Cosmetics palette, which I think might be that same color. And it's going on just as bold. Okay, so that's good. Seems to be slightly patchier, but not horrible. Okay, I'm gonna clean off my blending brush and let's just try to blend this out to be the same transition shade as Natasha Denona. Okay, we're getting there. I think I do want to take this brown shade. All right, I'm gonna have to be honest, you guys. I'm seeing that these shades are actually better duped in the CColor Cosmetics Savannah palette, except for the shimmer. So unless she did duplicates of the same shades in another palette, or unless these dupes are just that bad, I'm gonna say this Sahara palette, the only color out of here that might be a match is this shimmer right here. So I'm going to keep that aside for that. In the Aurora palette, I mean, when you look at it, it looks like maybe the orange, maybe this color right here, maybe some of the shimmers. There's, you know, 3 of them right here that might work. Beautiful palette. I'm just not seeing the dupes in this. Darkest brown here in the middle, because yeah, we do have to use every single shade. And I'm just putting it on there. All right, so I'm getting ready to leave the house and go out in natural daylight, so I'm not doing anything too crazy. Getting a little bit of patchiness. Could be the brush. I don't think it's the primer. Okay, let's see if we don't get the same patchiness on the other side. So I'm going back into the CColor Cosmetics palette. I'm going to take this brown right here because it looks like it's the closest matte. And again, the CColor Cosmetics palette doesn't actually have any names on it. So if my assumption is correct, non-professional testing is correct, I'm going to say that the CColor Cosmetics Savannah palette, which is a dupe for the Safari palette, is where she's getting the majority of their shades for the Natasha Denona Peak palette. I keep wanting to call it pink, but it's peak. All right, that actually didn't blend out too bad. I'm not usually always so worried about the lines if I'm going to go over them with another shade. For our purposes today, let's try to be a little bit more specific. And clean the brush off again. I think maybe the brown in the CColor Cosmetics is slightly more richer, maybe a little bit more of a cooler undertone, but very similar. I'm going to take a little bit of the orange, a little smaller brush, small eyelids, small brushes. That orange right there, which in Natasha Denona is called Thorn. I don't know that I really think of that as being a thorn color. Keeping it on the correct side of my eyeball here. It seems to go on pretty saturated when you pack it on, but like the rest of the formulas, I think it's blending out too. Let's take that same brush, cleaning it off. I think it's a little bit closer to this orange here called Flare in the Aurora palette from Alter Ego, which would be a dupe for the Sunrise palette. So I think this is the only orange shade she's got in here. All right, instantly more pigmented on first application and less patchy. I'd heard good things about Alter Ego's formula. I know that the Artemis palette, I think, is maybe a dupe for Metropolis. I like Metropolis. I didn't buy the dupe of that. I think there's enough YouTubers out there that are doing dupe videos, but I hadn't seen anybody try to dupe this. Okay, last shimmer in here called Shine in the Peak palette, and we're gonna apply that with my finger onto my Natasha Denona side. And I'm gonna say that this shade right here called Stellar is the dupe for the Natasha Denona Shine. Yeah, that seems like it's a pretty good dupe. Very creamy, like the formula feels nice. And I'm gonna say that the dupe palette, the Alter Ego palette, might be slightly warmer than this kind of champagne-y shimmer in the Natasha Denona side. But very, very similar. Like, I don't think anybody who's looking at my eyes is gonna be like, oh wow, you've got 2 different shimmers on. Like, I don't think anybody's gonna notice. I don't think this Sahara palette, this is the dupe for the Biba palette. I don't think this is this Mirage color might be the shimmer, or the attempt at the shimmer dupe, but feels like it's a little warm too. We're going back into the orange, just on my lower lash line a little bit. I'm gonna kind of match it up over here. Just kind of carry in the color family. The same one on side. All right, you guys, let's put on some mascara and we'll come back with my final thoughts. What do you think? I've got Natasha Denona, a $48 5-pan palette on this side. None of these shades are new. She claimed they were from 3 different palettes. However, I was able to find dupes for them using these 2 palettes right here. One of them is from CColor Cosmetics called Savannah, supposed to be a dupe for her Natasha Denona Safari palette. The Alter Ego Aurora palette, which is supposed to be a dupe for Sunrise. I think I pulled a couple shades from here too. I think both of these will get you there. Both of these palettes are ridiculously inexpensive. I didn't have a problem with either of the formulas. I would probably say that my preference of the 2 formulas would probably be the Alter Ego, just from personal experience, although CColor Cosmetics I've been using for a very long time and I like them. I started off using them as a very, very budget-friendly dupe brand because it wasn't willing to commit to the high-end prices, but of course that's changed as time goes on. So do I think that you need to spend $48 for this palette? It's a pretty palette. I think the colors are really cute if you're looking for a warm look, but I think you could buy several other palettes and get a lot more colors with the dupe version, and I can't tell the difference. What do you think, husband? Can you tell the difference between my 2 eyes? Can you tell that one brand is different than the other, or do they look exactly the same?
They're pretty darn close.
There you go. The jury says they're pretty darn close. All right, you guys, I hope this was informative or interesting in some way for you guys. If you'd like to see other videos like this, please leave me a comment down below. If you're not already, please subscribe. I'm not a makeup artist. I'm just doing this for fun. And I hope you guys are doing really well. So until my next video, bye for now.